Hey there, this is Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing. Hey, it's Saturday morning. I am putting together my weekly list of the Meller Marketing LinkedIn Rockstars, and I actually just got a message popping up from Christine here, and she was kind of wondering where the metrics were, and she said, hey, maybe one day you can create a video on how to pull together the data. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to show you guys how I do this magical list. So what I do is I start with, I've got this Excel file basically, and I've created it. It's called the LinkedIn Rockstars, and I start the process by updating it with today's date. I think, what is today? October 5th. So I'm here in the US, so we use the month year format for that file. And then I've basically just got an Excel spreadsheet. And what I started with is I went through and I just, have these hyperlinked, and I'll just click on each of them and I right click, open it in a new tab, and that's where you see all of these tabs that are open along the top. Let me expand my screen range here to see this. I don't know if I can do this for you. I'm going to expand it up to the top. So you can see I've got probably like 25 of them open. Basically, I have the list that's in front of me that's in the viewable area, and I just start kind of going back and forth. So I've already worked my way a little bit down the list here. I'm now onto my profile, and I'm just going to grab this number and I just copy it, and then I go back to my spreadsheet and I paste it, and then I hit enter, and then the formula will calculate out in here. Whoops, that's the wrong person. Let me take that out. And I always kind of just look at the percentages, just like I did a quick eyeball there, and I was like, wow, that was a huge jump. Oops, wrong person. So I make sure that they're, I basically look at the week prior, and I look to see, are they trending about the same? And if I notice any inconsistencies, I kind of do a quick spot check to make sure that it's accurate. The formula I have in here is taking this week's number minus whatever the previous reporting period, and in this case it was a week ago, and that's just a number change. So you can see here that I've grown my followers by 230 in the past week, and then this percentage change formula is basically, let me double click on it so you can see. So I'm taking this week's number change divided by last week's total number. So it's basically showing me in what percentage increase has that number changed since the previous week. So then I just kind of do this for everyone in the list. And once I've got the number, I close that tab, go to the next one. And just so you can see, this is actually me doing this manually. This is how I do it. This is not exciting stuff, but it is kind of, it's like a mindless activity. I just kind of go through. And some weeks when it takes me a little bit longer to pull the list together, what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at activity from the profiles, and I might take a moment to comment on a few things or kind of scroll through. Sometimes when I land on their profiles, I might see, maybe Lacey's changed her header, and I kind of look at that and whatnot. But for the most part, it's me copying, pasting, going into the next one, closing that tab. And again, copying and pasting. I think Jillian might have a new header. I don't remember seeing that book from last week, that podcast. So that's kind of an interesting thing. And I grab that. And sometimes as I'm going through here too, I'll notice that there may be other changes they've done to their profiles. Close out of Lacey here. And then I think I may have opened that twice for Jillian. Here's Jeff. Like, one thing I noticed for Jeff today was his LinkedIn URL is Jeff Young. And I don't know what the rest of this stands for. RalemoI. I think moi is a French word for me, so maybe rail means something. I don't know. So this is, I just kind of go through and I notice things as I'm going. So the whole reason I started this list originally was so that I could learn from other LinkedIn experts and learn techniques from them. And what I found is that, in addition to kind of looking at their techniques and kind of doing quick looks at their profiles and their activity feed, that, when I was measuring it myself, it was valuable, but then I started publishing this out and pushing it out on LinkedIn. I always like Joe's is interesting. He's got all these really cool icons. I'm always curious, does he update these and change these regularly, or, how often does he change that? Very interesting though, kind of a neat little thing. So I started publishing this back in March, and I had some folks that responded to it, and I was like, wow, other people are interested in this data. And then I said, well, maybe I'll just do this every week and see what happens, because I'm basically, that's how I'm measuring this. Every week I go back and I measure the updates. And originally it was me, connecting with other people who were kind of fellow LinkedIn trainers and coaches. And over time, I had other people that I was stumbling upon, and they might be video people or just marketers or authors or public speakers. and the list started to get really big. I mean, right now, I think this list is around, we'll look at it in a second here. Let me close out of Sandra's. I like to keep in my groove of things in here. Here's Shelly's. Love Shelly. She's awesome. She's always a big supporter of others on LinkedIn here too. So I will, I look at this list, and right now I think I've got 60, I think we've got around 68 people total. A couple things I keep track of in here. I look at the gender because I like to make sure that we have a gender balanced list. In the beginning, I was getting a lot of men and not a lot of women being added to the list, so I'm trying to make sure male, female. I'm keeping tabs on that as we go. And you can see sometimes at the bottom of the list, you have somebody where I don't have a previous activity date, and that's because Jason was added after the last date. So I don't do a partial week because I want to make sure I'm evaluating these fairly. And I'm doing this in the same time block. So I'm just going through and doing all of these now. This process will take me, I mean, this process of copying and pasting, it probably only takes about, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I just go through and then I'll do the sorting part next. So that's that part of the process. I'm going to stop this video for now, and then I'll show you the sorting in just a minute here.